Okay. Okay, so in case of Raipur, they were mostly deleting the data, like the personal data. For example, in case of data sharing regarding the traffic, then the license plates information of the individuals were being removed. And in case of Guwahati or the Ludhiana, so mostly they were not ready to give the answers to these questions. So Guwahati was like no data remains safe when it goes into the public domain or with the outside agencies. So mostly this is handled by the big business partners or the sharing agencies. So then the major challenges which all these cities are facing at the local levels. So in case of Guwahati and Ludhiana, so basically SPs and the local corporation remains diverse, and these standalone agencies with low accountability to people. So basically, like if there is no connection with the ICCCs, with the SPVs and the municipal corporations. Then in case of Bhopal and Raipur, it was observed that there is no guiding principle for data sharing from different city departments. And it's like if they send that data to the headquarters present at the state level instead of giving that data to the ICCCs at the city centers. Then in terms of Ahmedabad, Varanasi and Kochi, they were like fully empowered with the local corporations, and they were given the limited role to the SPVs, like in terms of the traffic operations only. So when we talk about the holistic development, so we need to consider all the systems, like all the physical systems, all the social or the economic systems, but currently they are mostly active into the traffic operations. Then in case of Chandigarh, Jaipur, Ludhiana and Guwahati, so there was a lack of in-house capacities also, which raises the question on sustainability of these technologies. So the limitations in the future research which came out from this was, so the result of the present study supports earlier research which says like there is no one size which we can fit for all the models for all smart cities. Even it implies for all the context as well. We cannot have a single building bylaws or a single protocols or the guidelines for a one specific city. So we need to look into all these matters. So we found a variety of approaches adopted by Indian cities, from integrating a range of information sources with the local councils to state level commons, to provide distributed ICCC capabilities across all the cities to tackle pandemics and other events. Even some cities also display iterative approaches and the frameworks to focus on one or two of the domains, like the transport operations or the CCTV surveillance. And also they were adding incremental services functionality based on the feedbacks and the resources. Then these varying levels of technological maturity and the case studies offer a novel approach to innovations across the depth and the breadth of the diverse communities. So in these changing times, several concerns need to be addressed, as we find most authorities lack a cohesive approach, right, to engage citizens. So every research or in every project, it is like the most important part to engage the citizens, and mostly they are failing to provide clear frameworks for safeguarding individual privacies. So some cities were encouraging participations through the social media websites or the apps, but they were heavily relying on the digital means, and they were failing to provide inclusive approach to reach the wider public beyond the digital space. So from here, we identified like future research and the development agendas should investigate like how cities in the global south can truly benefit from the digital transitions by enhancing how cities in enhancing their own capacities, then involving their population in democratizing technology solutions, and also providing pathways for improving governance efficiencies to deal with the future pandemic emergencies and the routine operations. So this was the one part of my presentation that was on the ICCCs. So maybe we can have questions on this, or otherwise I can start with my second presentation, which is on the urban sustainability assessment tool.
Hello.
Yes, yes, too. Please
Dr.
talk.
Harsimran, Manoj Pawar this side.
Yes,
Like all these IEEE centers, wherever these 100 smart cities are there, they have been like integrating all this data at the center level also and are presenting, let's say, the standardized format they have been given by TCPO, MOUD.
mhm,
So still they are not following. There are best practices in different domains of these cities. So why we are not like coping, as you have been involved in Banaras smart city? So for example, the I was involved in this smart city Saharanpur.
yes,
So one best practice out of it is smart this waste management system. And
yes, right.
these waste management, like your topic itself suggests, whether like it is just a perception or whether it is reality checks are should be given. So what kind of smart systems have been implemented apart from these ICCC center, because these have been implemented across different times in Kumbh as well.
Yes.
These observation and traffic management system also has been like ITC systems are already in place. So what are other typologies that we can see in different smart cities across India?
Okay, so currently mostly they are involved in the traffic management and the city surveillance part. So they are looking into the data collection. So the problem is they are not able to get the data because in our case, especially in Varanasi, so even people are not ready to give their data. They are like there will be a privacy issues. So even when we were talking with all the stakeholders, with the smart city persons who are involved with the governance, so they were also like even if we get the data, so we are not allowed to share that data with the other partners. So it's like we have data only on the traffic management or at the city surveillance level, but we are not able to incorporate the other dimensions, like we talk about the physical dimension. So one case which you are talking about on the solid waste management, so it's like we don't have enough even equipments installed which can through which we can measure. So it's like government is giving the budget which is allocated to these centers, that is very less. Like I was talking about in my previous slides, it's only like 1/7 or 1/5 part of that total budget. So they are like if we will get that budget, and or if they give us the authority to install these things at maybe residential level or at a neighborhood level, then we will be able to get the data. So it's like they are also under certain limitations. So this is the problem which we are facing. So it's looking good on the newspapers. Okay, we have like ICCCs. Even we were also under perception ki, if we have 100 smart cities, so all the 100 smart cities are having ICCCs. But recently we got to know like Ludhiana has just started. They were given 2018 or 19 that permissions, but they are now starting with the infrastructure development. So it's like if government is giving, but that amount is not reaching at the city levels, or some lack is there.
But most of the projects that we see across these smart cities are mainly, let's say, sewage development, which used to be part of GNRUM and other
Yes,
schemes which were there, and parks development. So these are the systems that we are developing, and even the lighting installations wherever it is there. So they are not using the, let's say, intelligent systems of
yes.
lighting. Like most of the lights you will find switched on during the daytime as well. So what is that kind of smartness that we are looking forward into?
Currently nobody is looking into this. It's only like they are just placing the infrastructure, they are not keeping record of anything. Even that will include our not only the electricity but also the water meters. So I don't think so. Even in our institute also, if we see, we don't have any water meter to check, we don't have any electric meters to check. So it's like if we are not starting from our homes, then how can we accept from the city people? So that is the gap which we are looking for, and we are also in continuously discussing with them. So if we want to have an overall picture or the correct picture, we first we will have to get the data. So that is the major problem. So now they are looking to hire the agencies. They are involving the school student, school kids, even the college students, to get the to help them to get all these data. They are conducting the surveys. Now they are starting not towards the solid waste management, but with the universal accessibility, because in Varanasi, if we see, it's a very old city, right? And there is a problem of inclusivity, universal accessibility. So now they are involving students to get the data on that. So there are like problem is with the data only. It's not about ki we cannot achieve, but the problem with the data, and data will come only if they will get the sufficient funding, because nobody is going to work free of cost, right? So that is the problem. And also people need to get aware, sufficient awareness. And in our case, they are not ready to accept any change, because if you visit here, you will find like open drains. So if we suggest them, this is not good, this is not hygienic, we will cover, we will provide you like clean drainage system and all, they're not, दे आर लाइक कि नो, ये तो भोला जी का प्रसाद है, हम ये ऐसे ही रहने देंगे, आप इसको डिस्टर्ब मत कीजिए. सो इट्स लाइक कि फर्स्ट वी विल हैव टू मेक देम अवेयर कि ये इम्पोर्टेंट है, आपको ये करना पड़ेगा. सो देयर आर लाइक चैलेंजेस एट मल्टीपल लेवल्स. सो slowly we are trying, so let's see.
But isn't the initial seed money, that 500 crore rupees, were meant only for kind of like seed money only, and all the smart cities, the proposed smart
It's
cities were
8,000 crores actually. When we were getting the data from all over the like 100 cities, it was like 8,000 crores. And shockingly, it was only shared like only 5% or the 1/5% into these technologies. So how can they expect? They are saying they are giving like this much of money, but ICCCs are getting only 5% of that to develop the technologies. So we can see like how they are going to work with all these things. So it's like if even researchers want to work with them, they are also like, we won't be able to give you any money. If you want to conduct any research, you can do on your own. So these are the problems.
So has that smart city funding, initial funding, has gone in vain?
No, they are doing. So maybe we can say they have started not with the 7 dimensions, let's say, maybe with 1 or 2, maybe next year or another 1 or 2 years. Let's see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other question from any other participant?
Okay. So shall I start with my second presentation?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Okay. So I hope whosoever is pursuing PhD, that will be of greater interest to them. Okay, so this was my part of PhD, and this is also under the patent process. And recently, I have published this paper with the American Journal of Urban Planning and Development. So this is basically, I will be starting with the how I started with the literature review, then how I took the or identified all the peculiar aspects which were pertinent to my specific area, and then how I reached with the decision that I need to develop a urban sustainability assessment tool specifically for the hill areas. So now I'll start with my presentation. So the topic is urban sustainability assessment tool for the hilly areas. So first we'll understand sustainability in general. We will understand the concepts, theories, and at what levels sustainability is distributed, and then sustainability rating tools worldwide and in India. Then the cross comparison of all the existing rating tools, then the gap identification in context of hills, then the cross evaluation of the identified aspects with the existing rating tools, then the development and applicability of the urban sustainability assessment tools with the hill areas. Okay, so first we'll understand sustainability in general. So as we know, Due to the greater adverse impact of rapid urbanization, our world is facing problems related to deforestation, carbon emissions, biodiversity, related to water, paper, transportation consumptions, even the waste management issues. Then also problems related to climate change. Our Arctic ices are melting, glaciers are melting. Then there are the increasing instances of flooding, even the fires in the mountains. And also, as we understand, mountains are the rich source of natural resources, glaciers, lakes, or biodiversity. So it becomes necessary for us to understand the sustainability in a holistic sense for ensuring sustainable urban development, even the smart urban development, which requires proper understanding of all the concepts, methods, tool techniques which have been already developed in India or worldwide, and which are used for the evaluation of the sustainability of the urban development. So this term was not recently introduced. So with the book released by the Ian Mekhas, he has already started with the environment preservation or the conservation, or also with the economic growth. So in 1980s, officially in World Conservation Strategy, the first sustainability term was introduced, and later on, three dimensions were mentioned, which were environment, social, and the economy. So, and parallelly in 92, people started talking about the mountain fragility, fragile ecology, ecosystems, and the bearing capacities. So the sustainable mountain development was introduced in Agenda 21. And later on, along with the three existing dimensions, environment, social, and economy, fourth dimension was introduced, that was institutional. Then in 2000, because we were talking about the sustainability or the sustainable development, so to achieve the sustainability, we were required to have certain development goals. So first they introduced the Millennium Development Goals, which were only related to the developing countries. Then later on, they introduced the Sustainable Development Goals in 2015 with the Kigali Agreement. So they were for all the countries. And also in 21, sustainable development was introduced um, um, by the this agriculture organization, United Nations. So if we talk about sustainability at multiple levels, so we have like majorly we talk about macro, meso, and micro level. So at macro level, if we divide the dimensions, so we talk about all the policies, protocols, all the agreements, or maybe we can say whatever the policies we make at the state or the national level, they all come under the macro levels or the global or regional level. Then at meso level, we talk about the communities or sector or settlements. So here you can see under the environmental dimension, we talk about the land use, ecology, climate, energy, water, waste management, or pollution reduction. In case of social dimension, we talk about the transportation networks and connectivities, housing diversities, infrastructures, open green spaces, and in economy, we talk about the efficiency, innovations, and the growth potentials. And at micro level, we usually consider sustainability at the area level, site, or the building level, where we talk about the roof profiles, architectural features, landscaping, inclusive environments, accessibility to the facilities. So from here, we can say we need to have a holistic integration. So considering all these dimensions, so in 1990, first BRIAM Urban Sustainability Assessment Tool was introduced. And then later on, in 2098, in 1998, LEED was introduced by the US. Then 2001, first CASB by Japan rating system was introduced. And along with that, in 2001 only, for our first Indian green building rating system was introduced, that is called as IGBC. Then in 2004, then LEED was launched for the existing buildings. Then for the LEED for 2009, which was also applicable in Indian context. Then in 13, there was a green globes. And now currently we have like three major rating systems. One is the LEED, second one is the IGBC, and the third one is the GRIHA. So if we see all around the world, like in 29 countries, we have more than 60 tools worldwide. And all these tools are based on geographical and topical focuses. Like at city levels, we have rating systems. Then we have rating system for the planned neighborhoods, for the existing neighborhoods, then for the all neighborhoods, landscapes, and also special purpose, like the for the coastal zones, right? Then these rating tools are subdivided into components like the transportation, green open spaces, waste management, energy, water, innovation practices, and the compactness. And all these rating systems are done on basically on a 100-point or a more point system with the differential weighting approaches. And these approaches are basically more focused into the smartness, efficiency, green, and the just basically the how much we are including the social dimension. So if we look into the overview of the different rating systems, so this is how all the rating systems consider the environment, social, and economic dimension in their rating weightages. So, so starting with my first literature review, because my focus was specifically for the hilly areas. So my first question was whether all these existing questions are sufficient, or do we need to modify them, or do we need to incorporate another dimensions or aspects which becomes useful for the hilly context. So for that, first I understand the all the theories, practices, and the approaches. Then I identified the peculiar sustainability aspects which were related to the hill context. Then all the current tools were studied or reviewed. Then from there, decisions were taken whether we need to develop a new framework, and then that developed tool was further demonstrated at the city level. So to begin with the literature, so first comprehensive literature review was done using the existing urban sustainability assessment tools to understand the similarities and the differences, and to identify the gaps, whether they are capable of or suitable for addressing the multiple issues. And for that, qualitative content analysis method was used. So in this case, I have reviewed like multiple documents, books, journal papers, websites, and the manuals to first to identify all the things with the various dimensions of the sustainability. Then based on those themes, I prepared an inventory of common criteria. And during this process, I also figured out using the Prisma flow diagram, there were around 5,000 documents available on the urban sustainability assessment tool. So I started with the screening process. Then I most like context specific test studies were chosen at the eligibility test, and then finally 130 studies were included. So this was the bibliometric analysis, and for that was viewer was used. And then after this, these were the major 5 dimensions which were identified from the peer reviewed papers. And based on these dimensions, this inventory was prepared. Like here you can see on environmental, there were atmosphere ecology, solid waste management, building resources, material management. Then similarly, there were multiple categories for the social dimension. So then parallelly, um, another inventory was prepared for the existing tools like PASB, BRIAM, GBI, LEAD, IGBC, GRIHA. So now the question was, because we have like more than 60 or 80 number of existing rating tools. So there was a requirement of a screening analysis. So for the screening analysis, there were like 6 parameters considered. One, how much these tools are well known, like can we get the data on these tools or not, then how much they are relevant to the context, whether they are measurable or not, then whether they will be applicable or not, then the availability and adaptability. So from this study, we come up with these 6 tools. So BRIAM community, KSB, GBI, these were taken from the international context, and then IGBC, GRIHA were from the Indian context. So after doing the screening analysis, Another quant analysis was done. So here, sitting challenge was all these criteria had different credits. Even the rating systems were having different weighting criteria. So we normalized the weighted scores, and we identified they were giving like less emphasis to the site selection and planning, infrastructure, site selection and planning, social well-being, business innovations, and the governance. So parallelly, we cross-evaluated these four rating systems with the Tehri Township. So for the study context, New Tehri Township was selected for the further analysis or to check the applicability of these case assessment tools. So this was the township, Hill Township, which is in Uttarakhand. So what we identified, this township was only qualifying at the certified level in case of lead and the GRIHA, but for the GBI township and the IGBC Green Township, this was not at all qualified. So the major difference, if we talk about in the hill context, there are like issues which are like related to the slope instability. Then there is an issue related to the natural drainage pattern or the conservation of natural resources, accessibility, housing infrastructure related problems are there. Then visual incompatibility one can observe in case of Nainital or Shimla, tourism problems. So now taken the problems and the issues from the hill context and from the identified problems with the existing tools, we come up with the inference that we need to develop a new criteria. So when these metrics was prepared based on the existing urban sustainability assessment tool, it was also found out that the hill stability, climate, energy, visual resources were not at all considered, or if considered, they were given only partial emphasis. Like in case of hill stability, only BRIAM and GBI was giving some emphasis. And in case of visual resources, if we see, only BRIAM was giving some emphasis than the other ones. So after preparing all the categories with respect to the existing tools, so we come up with the thing that we need to have a new tool for the hill areas. So for the development of that tool, we followed 5 steps. So first was the selection of the indicators. So indicators were selected with the help of the stakeholders, like planners were involved, architects, researchers, academicians were there. Then also based on the literature review, then we started collecting the data, and that data was collected not only from the case studies, but also from the primary and secondary sources basically. Then normalization was required because whatever the data we were collecting, that was having qualitative and quantitative values. So then the normalization was done, and also along with the benchmarking, then experts were involved to assign the certain weightages while preparing the weightages, and then we come up with this tool. So this framework or the model was having 6 categories with the 30 criteria and 36 indicators. So for example, here you can see, because these criteria were having all the data, like they were having the mix of qualitative and quantitative data. So there was a requirement of a normalization. So we did this normalization at a 5-point scale. So one was referred as a low or the extremely low level of sustainability, and 5 was the high level of sustainability. So for the benchmarking, what we did, so indicator for the hill stability, there was a slope angle, rock or soil type, then the distance to faults, height differences, then the type of LULC, soil conditions, and the rainfall intensity. So the units were used accordingly. Then the modes were given, like if the slope angle is less, then that will be better. So accordingly, this normalization was done and the benchmark was set. And finally, this was given the weightages, and for assigning the weightages, super decision matrix was used. And based on this super decision software and the collecting the weightages from different stakeholders, we assigned different weightages to the category. So as we know, In terms of hill context, site stability is the most important parameter which need to be considered. So his site stability was given 25. Then next, climate, energy, and transportation was given 15. Built environment was given 20, and visual resources was given 10. So this was totaling 100. And based on this rating system, this was applied at the New Tehri township. And after applying this tool, we identified that this township was achieving approx 74.5% sustainability. Now we are in the process of applying this tool to the other areas. So inferences drawn from these was like these tools are useful and essential means for creating and monitoring the developments. So we need to get the data periodically if we want to keep the sustainability check at a city level or a settlement level. And also like stakeholders or the planners or the architects do understand these datas or datas terminologies, but when we go at the local level, they don't understand these terminologies. So we need to come up with the visualization techniques. So this tool was specifically integrated with the GIS to give them the spatial data visualization so that they later on develop the dashboards like we can see in the ICCC's cases. And even currently, we are also working with the Smart City Varanasi, ICCCs, to get the sustainability check at the neighborhood levels. So we are starting with the campus sustainability check. And we are preparing the dashboards and connecting those dashboards with the city levels. So this was a process which was followed during the PhD, and the tool is also under the process of patenting. So this is the overall presentation. And from this PhD, I have like approx 10 publications. Whosoever interested, they can refer these publications. Thank you. So any questions? Any questions from the participants? I think there is no question.
Now the house is open for the discussion. If any participant is having any query, he or she may ask the question to Dr. Kaur.
Any question related to your PhD, related to your work, anything?
Any query?
Ma'am, if I am allowed, can I ask?
Yes, yes, sure.
Like all these particular, let's say, development indices or specifically for hill towns that you have developed, have you tried to apply them apart from Tehri town?
Yeah, we are in the process. Like now, we are starting our work with the Dharamshala, New Shimla, and Lavasa. So we have like data for the Lavasa. So most probably by June or July, we will be visiting Dharamshala as well. So we are also looking for the funds because this will require funding from the agencies. So most probably maybe by year end or next year, you will be able to see more publications on Dharamshala or New Shimla or other hill towns.
Okay. And ma'am, related to, let's say, New Delhi township, all those parameters, can you detail all those parameters that you have identified out of New Delhi, or let's say for hill townships?
Basically, we have like total, so I'm not showing here. Or maybe I can share my paper there. I have listed all the categories and criterias, I guess. 1 second.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, 1 second.
Kavita, we can take a break of 10 minutes.
Yes, sir. After this query, or if someone else is having a query, then we will take a break of 10 minutes. Sir.
Okay, we will rejoin after 10
No, sir,
minutes.
the meeting will be on.
The meeting will remain on.
Yes, sir.
So are we
Okay.
taking break right now?
Ma'am, after this query, we will take a break.
Okay.
Or
okay,
if
okay.
you are searching for something, then after
Yeah,
break,
actually,
you can.
I'm looking for a paper.
Yes, ma'am. After a break of 10 minutes, then we can discuss upon this query.
Okay, 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 sure.
Okay, ma'am. So all the participants, please remain in the meeting. We will resume the meeting in 10 minutes. It's a break for 10 minutes, but nobody is allowed to leave the meeting. The meeting will remain open. So, dear participants, let's resume the session. Our expert, Dr. Harsimran, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sharing my slide.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So to continue with Dr. Manoj Pawar's question, so I'll start like explaining how this tool was developed and what were the indicators and criteria were decided and then they applied. And then we decided to collect the data from the offices.
Ma'am, you are not audible. Dr. Harsimran, am I audible?
Kavita, you're audible, but Dr. Harsimran is not.
Yeah, same is the case with me. She is not audible to me as well. I think she is rejoining the meeting because she is not in the meeting anymore. Maybe some network issue. So be patient. She may be joining in 1 minute or two. Let's wait. I'm calling her.
Okay. Hello. Yeah, hello.
Yes, ma'am. Now you are audible.
Okay. There was some internet connection issue actually. So I'm sharing my slide again. Okay. So after selecting the criterias which were affecting the hill sustainability, so we decided to collect the data. So data collection started with the primary and secondary sources. So primary data was majorly collected from, by visiting personally on site. So the site chosen was the New Tehri township, and this township was also awarded a Prime Minister's Award for the planned development in 2001. So after visiting the site and we started the process of collecting the data from the offices. So what we did was after selecting the variables and the context specific indicators, we also alongside with the collection of the data, we prepared certain questionnaire surveys. And these questionnaire surveys were from the experts, academicians, then from the on-site stakeholders, then also public was involved, and the data collected was qualitative and quantitative. So after the questionnaires and data collection, we started building the proposed model, and the model was named as Sudesha. Sudesha 6. 6 was from the categories. And after the developing the model, there was a need to validate all the indicators, and after validation was done based on the case study analysis, and also because the data collected was majorly from the qualitative and quantitative uh, quant data and the qualitative data. So we did the normalization, and later on the normalization weighting was done with the help of the experts. So here you can see the model was named as Sudesha. So Sudesha means the sustainable urban development of environmentally sensitive hill areas sustainability index. So these were the 6 categories. One was on the site stability or the hill stability. Then the second one was on the environment and ecology. Third on the environment and climate and energy. Fourth was visual resources. So if we see mostly in our existing tools, we don't consider this visual resources. Visual resources basically the scenic views and vistas which we get from the hilly sides, or if we go to the other specific zones like coastal zones, right? Or the river sides or the lakes, riverfront or the seasides, right? So these becomes important parameters to be considered while doing the assessments. So in my case, because this was specifically for the hill context, so we included this visual resources as a one of the category. Then transportation connectivity, again, a very important parameter to be considered in the hill context. Then there was a built environment because we cannot do any sort of assessment without considering the built environment, right? So in hill stability, we took these criteria from the Bureau of Indian Standards, and these were prepared for the landslide zonation hazards. So based on these criteria, we decided certain indicators. So like we can see slope morphometry if we talk about the criteria. So this can be checked or benchmarked or normalized by the slope angle, right? So if the slope angle is more, then that means that site is not stable to build construction or to have any sort of a building or a settlement. So similarly, we had a lithology. So lithology means the soil typology or the rock typology. So being a structural engineer or architect or a planner, we need to consider the typology because we cannot construct our buildings or have a foundation on a very weak soils, right? So we decide our foundation of buildings on the basis of the typology of the rock or the soil, right? Then there was a geologic structure. So basically distance to faults. That was now you can see the case of Joshimath. So what is happening over there? That city is now being called as a sinking city because that site was initially a dumping site. So there were only because landslides were happening there. There was and the what we call malwa, right? That was being collected on that hillside. So now over that years, what is happening over there is whosoever has done illegal construction over there, because authorities are not bothered till any mishappening happens over there, right? So with the time that city has started sinking because that was on a debris. Now that debris and due to the collection of the water, that's now the foundations are are not stable anymore, right? That's why we are now observing the falls or the demolition of the buildings, right? So this parameter becomes very important in terms of the hill context, right? So we need to check whether there is a fault line crossing, whether it's a landslide prone area or earthquake prone area or not, right? Then comes the relative relief. So this is basically the distance between the hilltop and the bottom of the valley. So this is also necessary to understand. Then you also need to know whether it what is the land use of that particular area, whether we are going to construct on a forest land, because in case of mountains we consider those areas as a rich source of natural resources, right? So then also they are rich in biodiversity, so we need to consider, right? So what is the current use of that particular land, then accordingly we decide ki, okay, fine, we can go with the building or a or any type of infrastructure development, right? Then comes the hydrogeological conditions. So again, like I was talking about the soil and geology structure. So these conditions become important because if there is a water percolation or there is a high water table, right? So you cannot have a like stepped foundations or any sort of foundation. So you need to decide ki, okay, if there is a high water level, then you need to go with the pile foundations, right? Or a grillage or right. So accordingly, so these were majorly benchmarked with the base Bureau of Standards. Then comes the environment and ecology. So again, there was a further criteria like water resources, then drainage network, because in case of hills, especially if you disturb the natural drainage channels, right? That means if you have a building over here and there was a natural drainage channel, do you constructed the building over here, then there will be a water which will be start percolating inside the foundations, and these foundations will become weak over time, and maybe after a certain year you may observe cracks in your walls, right? So it's important not to disturb the natural drainage channels. So you need to check whether there is there any drains running nearby or at a distance, right? Then similarly comes the vegetation or the tree cover. Again, this becomes important whether there is a vegetative cover or vegetation over there or not. Now the government has come up with the policy. If you take out one tree from your site, then you will have to minimum have 3 saplings on that particular site. Or if you can just take out that tree from there and maybe replant that tree either within the site or on some other site, right? Or otherwise you will have to have minimum 3 saplings. Then the agriculture, again, you need to check whether there is a local food production or not. Then erosions, right? So if whether that site is susceptible to erosion or not. So these are the certain things which are considered under the environment and ecology. Then comes the climate and energy. So there were like the solar exposure. So in case of hill context, we need to get maximum sunlight, right? Because they are basically considered as a cold climates. So accordingly, we decide ki we will have a building on a east to western side axis which follows the southern side, right? So that we could get the maximum heat gain. So similarly we can have a solar exposure at different locations, right? Or daylight availability. So we cannot construct our building which is facing towards the northern side because we are not going to get any daylight, hai na? So the parameters for these criteria were like for the exposure, we need to check the solar aspect, like the direction or the orientation. Then for the daylight availability, you need to check the topographic location kya hai, whether it's a valley or it's on a ridge, right? Then also because when we are talking about the hills, you need to check the cold winds because they will be more prone to winds. So winds will be considered, then the rainfall will be considered, then snowfall that will be dependent on the altitude. If it's on a high altitude zone, then there will be a more snowfall there, right? So accordingly, you decide the sloping of the roofs, and you decide the slope of your even roadsides, right? Then in terms of the visual resources, which is not majorly considered in the other tools. So in this case, you need to see what type of views or vistas you are getting. Your buildings are blending with the surroundings or not. Like in case of Shimla or Nainital, you can see the FSR development which is happening. They are changing the urban character of the buildings, right? They are not blending with the environment. Even we can observe the problems related to the heat islands, right? That is happening only because we are not bothering about the environment or the surrounding environment or where we are constructing our buildings. So this is not only applicable at the hill context, this we can consider even in our plains as well. Then comes the light. So light is basically the important factor, basically the light illumination. So when we talk about the sustainability, that means ki we are considerable to the environment, hai na, to the people. So that means ki we need to look into the birds as well, nocturnal animals jo hote hain. So accordingly, we dim the lights, or we give the low lights at the pedestrian levels or at the street level, so that nocturnal birds and animals can freely move around, right? This place is also for them as well. Then comes the transportation and connectivity. So this is like in hill context, we prefer to have a walkable streets. So NMT mode was introduced. Then public transportation. Public transportation talks about the availability of public transport and its facilities. Then it's access to the educational facilities, recreational facilities, then the civic and community facilities, and also emergency services and parking provisions. Now, you must have observed, like whenever you visit to any hill towns or the hill stations, they usually have a parkings at the top or the roof of another building, right? So accordingly, we also need to look after the how much parking is there, how much we need to provide, and what could be the ideal location. And then built environment, so that will talk about the compact development, whether it's a mixed use development, or what is the density of that development. So mixed use means ki, are you going to mix the commercial uses, institutional uses, or residential? Because if you will have a mixed use development, that means ki you will make the people move to the streets, right? So they won't have to dependent on the vehicles, right, or on the transportations. So accordingly, you decide the built environment. Then the physical infrastructure, like what are the infrastructure is available, water supply is there, electrical supply is there or not. So all these things are dependent on the built environment. So these were the major categories, and based on these categories, further 30 criteria were introduced, and then these were further had the 36 indicators. Now the question was, all these indicators were having either the qualitative data or had the quantitative data. Quantity means numerical data, right? So what we did was, we cannot have the scoring for qualitative and quantitative same scoring, right, for both the data. So what we did was, there was a requirement for the normalization. So for the normalization, what we did was, we had a 5-point scale. So whatever we collected the data, so based on the benchmarks, for example, in case of slope angle, right? So its benchmark says that the slope angle should be lesser. That means ki if there is a less slope angle, that site is more suitable to construct, right? So we had a 5 ratings. So in case of 5 ratings, at low level, we have like more than 45 degrees. And it's a cliff type. Or in a case of a medium low rating, it's a steep slope with a 36-45 degrees angle. Then we have a median level sustainability, that means moderate steep slope. Then medium high means gentle slope, and high means the very gentle slope. So that means if if you go to the site and you see your site is having a less than 15 degrees, that means your site is going to get 5 points based on the benchmarking, right? So accordingly, the data was collected. So the data was given ratings based on these 5 rating scales. Similarly, rock and soil typology was benchmarked. Then the distance to faults were benchmarked. So here you can see at some places there is a rating with respect to the quantities. Then at some cases there is a rating with the subjective data, right? Similarly, we had the data or the normalization for the climate and energy. So in terms of slope aspect, which I was talking with respect to the directions. So in terms of the directions, so here you can see we had scales at like whether it's a north facing or northeast facing or northwest facing. So accordingly, we gave like whatever the benchmarking we had. So whatever it was, if it was facing the eastern side or the east and western side, or the path is following from the east, south and west, so accordingly we were giving the rating. So this method was adopted and then applied similarly for the transportation, for the built environment, right? Then okay, now we had all the categories, right? So now it was required to give the weightages to all these categories. So there were researchers involved for the weighting, for the academicians, then there was a practitioners, then the government officials. So in total we had 20 experts from all these divisions, and they rated these categories, and we come up with these aggregates. Like maximum was given to the site stability. Then there was a next maximum rating was given to the built environment. Then transportation, climate and environment was given 15%, and visual resources was given 10%. So accordingly we had a 100 pointer rating system. So this rating system, because now we need to validate this rating system, right? So then we applied this rating system to the Tehri township, which was also nominated as a PM's like a PM award was given to this for the first planned hill township in the Uttarakhand, right? So this was performed, and if we see this township is divided into total 13 wards. So these wards you can see this first, second, and third ward is towards the lake. This is basically facing towards the Tehri Dam, right? So we had a total 13 wards. 1, 2, and 3 was towards the valley side, and these were on the ridge side. These 11, 12, 10, 8, 7, right? So after doing the sustainability analysis or using that tool to this township, we identified that site suitability was given 90%. Right, when it was done on a GIS, it was identified that this site was like suitable for the development, right? So high means it is highly suitable or highly sustainable. Then it was when applied with the environment and ecology criteria, we found out that like some wards were like at a medium low sustainability level. Fewer like 9th and 10 were having a high sustainability level, and others one was having like either medium low or a medium level, right? Then the microclimate was observed. So accordingly visual resources were observed, and then transportation connectivity and built environment. So overall this township was achieving 75% sustainability level. So here you can see this was achieving like in total 74 or approx 75% sustainability at the township level. Now, if you go or talk about these models or frameworks in numbers, so nobody is going to understand what is the status of the township when we visualize it, right? So similarly, all these IICCs ours are working. So what they are doing is they are collecting all the quantitative data, then they are converting the data, or what we call today as a spatial data analysis or the spatial data visualization, right? So they are collecting all these subjective and objective data, and then they are visualizing that data with the help of GIS into that large big screens or the dashboards, right? So this was what was done with the tool. So I hope now this question, now this answers the question of Dr. Manoj. Dr. Manoj, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm there. Thank you
Yes,
very
sir.
much for this thing. Can we like detail out all these 20 like experts? Was it found enough for like creating the relative importance index of different indicators?
Okay, so what was done was we had actually Delphi method. So initially we had like more than 50 plus experts. So what we did, we send them data, then they come up with certain some responded, some didn't respond. Then accordingly, we had even one-to-one interaction with the local stakeholders who were involved at the municipal corporation levels. So accordingly, we stick with the final, like at the third round level, we stick with the decisions taken by the 20 experts. So 20 experts were also from the even geological department, even from the environmental department. So they were like sufficient, and now we are in the stage of testing this tool further with the other townships, like I was talking about Dharamshala, New Tehri, this New Shimla township. Then also we are looking for the Lavasa and even Guwahati, northeastern states. So this is the result which we achieved from the New Tehri township, and also we can say because already planned township, so it was even easier for us. But the challenge was to prepare all the land use data and also collect the data, because they had only the manually drafted drawings. So first I had to transfer this data to GIS, and then after transferring this data, I did all the analysis. So this is one of the challenge. Even now, government is even looking for the people who have experience in GIS, who can do all these spatial data visualizations. So, hello.
Ma'am, can you show some of these examples as well, like in GIS or?
Okay, okay. So what I can do is, 1 second. Okay, I think we have participants from computer engineering background as well, right? So what I can do is I can share some. mm, 1 second.
Ma'am, even I want to ask, what are your expectations from computer science engineers while you
Okay.
are planning a smart city as a planner?
Yes. Okay. So if I talk about my research, because now I am actively involved with the spatial data visualization, right? So I involve like project associates who have their degrees from computer engineering background or information technology, because we need those people because they work with the codings and programmings, they develop softwares, right? So we need those people who help us with the software development. Now you have seen all the framework, right? All the model which I have with the 6 categories. Now I would like the people from the computer background who can assist me with the development of the software, or maybe with the plugin, like even in QGIS we have n number of plugins. So can we have such plugin which we can like directly apply to hill areas? I can provide the literature. I have already developed the model. So maybe one can help me with the plugin development, or with the app development, or with the software, so that architects, planners, even the municipal corporation people can easily use that. They just have to put the inputs within that software, and they get the maybe different scenarios, right? So this is what we expect from the computer engineers or the IT sector people. Or maybe you can answer like whether whatever we are expecting, that could be possible or not.
Ma'am, more on that, we require a lot of data from these IoT things
Exactly.
installed at different places.
Yes.
Although they are like for any kind of planning activity, we remain actually dependent on the data. Unless
Yes.
otherwise data is there, we cannot perform anything. And for example, like we do census in 10 years, and when we start modeling our things for planning activities, we are depending upon only like the past data, whatever has happened to a particular township or a city. So based on that only we can plan. So IoT people or computer science people are actually providing us data which help us in modeling for the future.
Yes, true. Even I have involved a few people. Even I am in the process of talking with the people who have background in the computers. So we are collecting data from them. Even few of my students are also working with this data collection, and then they are converting their data into the app development. And also we are even connecting all the data, all the even spatial visualizations with the virtual reality. So how we can give the experience to a client. Okay, this is what we are getting from the data, and this is happening at a city level or at a neighborhood level, or maybe at a building level. And this is how you can experience your buildings or your cities. So this is like they are getting more clarity. Now they are also getting aware, okay, fine. If I'll change this particular input or aspect, then this will happen to my residence or a neighborhood or a city. So this is like everything is connected. For architecture or even for planning people, we need to have an input from various departments. It's not only about from the civil or structure, but also from the computer or information technology people as well.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Ma'am, you are showing those
Yeah,
GIS files.
yes, one second. Actually, I wanted to show my all screen, but it's giving me option to share only one particular one second.
And there is an option of share screen at the bottom of the this screen.
Yes, but now they are asking like maybe a particular one. So actually, I wanted to show my complete desktop, like the complete screen.
Kuldeep,
Yes, ma'am.
मैम को अपना पूरा स्क्रीन डेस्कटॉप शेयर करना है, तो उसके लिए कैसे उसमें परमिशन मिलेगी मैम?
Actually, I can only select one window, I think, at a time.
एक मिनट मैम, एक मिनट मैम, एक मिनट। वो स्क्रीन का तो इसमें ऑप्शन ही नहीं आ रहा है।
Yeah. Yeah, the viewer.
कुलदीप, if we will make her host instead of co-host, तो क्या ये प्रॉब्लम रिजॉल्व हो सकती है?
Okay, maybe I can.
मैम अभी ऑप्शन है नहीं, ये वो फुल स्क्रीन का भी शायद न्यू वर्जन में है नहीं है वो, उसमें सिर्फ आप जो स्क्रीन ओपन करोगे वही वो कर
It's
सकते
okay.
हो।
It's okay. Maybe one by one I can start with. So this is one of the. This is how. Okay. This is what data we collect from various agencies or from the census, right? So this data was
Ma'am,
collected.
can we zoom upon this file because the
Yeah,
data is
one
not
second.
visible?
1 second. Okay. So first I'll show you. But there is a problem now. I'll have to again stop sharing. Okay, so this is the data which I started collecting around, I think, October 2020. And this data compilation was finished, I think, around May 2021. So this is based on census 2011. So we are still waiting for the releasing of the latest census data. So here you can see this data is of, one second. So here you can see the districts. So we had only 640 district data, right? And because this data was collected to check the COVID prevalence at a district level in Indian context. So here you can see like how much this data is there. If I show you, we have, okay, like 14,743 entries, right? And ये सारा डेटा अपना कॉर्पोरेशन वाले लोग कलेक्ट करते हैं, इवन ICCC सेंटर्स, ठीक है. नाउ they need to also cross verify whether this collected data is right or wrong. Even planner जो है यहाँ पे उनको भी पता होगा कि जब हम सर्वेस करते हैं तो अगर किसी को असाइन करते हैं तो we cannot rely on that data, right? तो ये पूरा डेटा एंट्री जो था that was, मतलब एक एक चेक किया गया एंट्री के बाद, ठीक है. इतना मतलब 14,000 15,000, एंड इट्स नॉट लाइक 14-15,000 मतलब लैक्स में ये डेटा कलेक्ट होते हैं, ठीक है. देन आफ्टर कलेक्टिंग दिस डेटा देयर वर टू वेरिएबल्स. वन वाज द कंफर्म्ड केसेस and the other one was at the confirmed death per lakh person people, ठीक है. Then time since the start of the confirmed cases, then the population density was mapped. So there were around 16 variables, है ना, ये वाले ये सारे 16 variables. और ये सारे variables, अब क्वेश्चन क्या था कि जो हमें ये डेटा मिल रहा था, कोविड हुआ 2020 में, सेंसस डेटा मिला 2011 का, देन जो हेल्थ इंडिकेटर्स थे देवर मतलब 2015 2016. सो वी कैन अकॉर्डिंगली अंडरस्टैंड कि जो ये डेटा कलेक्ट हुआ, मतलब उसका जो एनालिसिस हुआ वो ट्रू एनालिसिस तो नहीं था. सो व्हाट वी डिड फ्रॉम हियर, after collecting all the data for the 16 variables, then we did certain analysis. So let me show you those images. Okay, so okay, so this was the paper on this spatial modeling of COVID-19 incidents. So here you can see, because when we start collecting the data for 16 variables, then finally when we switched to GIS modeling, so we end with the 6 variables only after doing all the like regression modeling and all, and we compared this data with the 4 models. OLS model was there. Then here you can see, so this type of modeling was done in the GIS. These, right? So this was confirmed cases first, then confirmed death per lakh per people, then the ratio was mentioned. Now also you will see the difference in the colors. So this was told us by the editors to use the color blind friendly visuals or the views. We usually ignore or don't consider all these color parameters, right? Even in our presentations. So when we talk about the sustainability, we also talk about the inclusivity, right? So that means ki even we have to be very sensitive while picking the colors as well. So these colors were all the color blind friendly images. Then these were the models prepared. Then these all population density per square kilometer for all the districts. Then elderly population. Then these were the infrastructure assess, like water supply, then the population living in slums, then the women's with overweight or obese, then with high blood pressure. So these analyses were done based on taking the dependent variables. Then these models were prepared. So if I rotate, right? So we had 4 type of models. One was the OLS, spatial lag model, spatial error model, and GWR model. So for OLS model, spatial lag and spatial error, we used Geoda. Geoda, there is another software. And then these 3 models were compared with the GWR, which we do the modeling in the ArcGIS. So whatever the data I was showing earlier in the Excel file, that is basically used to prepare this concise data, and also then this data is visualized using these type of maps, and these maps are prepared in the GIS. So here you can see. So this is the population density, the elderly. These are the models. Right. So based then the another which I was showing you earlier in ICCCs again. So I can. So there we used this type of maps, like how much in smart city investment was done, and these type of maps. Then the per capita investment. Then these shares. Then the investment as per the small town, medium town, or large city or metropolitan cities. Right? And now I will show you GIS files. Okay. So these are the outcomes of the data which was connected from the Excels. So here you can see, if I show you the attributes. So these are the variables and the attributes which we take the data from the Excel. So you can easily compare. This is more or less like a Excel only, right? But the difference is here you can do the analysis, spatial analysis, right? So this is the data for the 100 smart cities. Right here you can see budget allocation, the percentage share, per capita, population density.
Ma'am, the screen change is not there. It is on GIS only. Not the attribute data is not shown.
1 second. Okay. So this is the budget data. Okay, now it's visible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So this is the budget to area population data. So here you can see this is the like ID number which we assign based on the smart number of smart cities, 100. Then the centers with the data. So this is more or less like Excel sheet only, right? So then this was also given certain codes because we had to take certain ratios with like the image I was showing with respect to the small cities to the bigger cities, right? So these were the codings prepared for that map. And then so these type of budgets were prepared, like the population, then the per capita experiments were done, then the smart cities, then the allocation datas, right?
Ma'am, can we have all these things in dynamic mode, like GUI that these computer people develop. So can we have like that climate or weather files we have now? So all
Yes,
those weather
yes,
files that we see on our television screens or all these things, can we
yes,
have such
yes.
kind of data visible on this GIS also, or all they are on GIS only?
No, we have even multiple plugins. If we take that data and insert that data within this, then we can have a dynamic platform which we can use in our dashboards, like the ICCC. In the ICCC centers, we can connect that data, because if you visit those centers, there are like n number of systems where these people are working, and then they are collecting the data, then collaborating that data, and putting that information on those big screens. So everything is possible actually. So it is only we need to get the periodical data, or we need to update that data, and also we need to collaborate with these people. Only then we, because sustainability we cannot achieve using only one dimension, right? We will have to get the data based on all the dimensions. Only then we can say, okay, our city is sustainable or our nation is sustainable.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think that's all from my side. Any questions from the audience or any queries?
Thank you, Dr. Go. So now the house is open for discussion. Participants, if any participant is having any query, he or she may ask. It was very interactive session. Any questions? So I guess there are no questions. So
Ma'am,
thank you very much.
I'll just suggest one thing, because I have been working with the smart city Saharanpur. So there lies the communication gap. These computer people don't understand our language, the planners language, and
Yes.
we are not able to understand their binary things and all the codes that they develop for us, because the data collection process, we remain like untouched by that, and there remains this black box kind of thing which they provide. We remain unaware of all those things from where they're getting this data. So unless and otherwise we are getting those kind of sources, we keep on reconfirming this data by doing the physical surveys. For example, Professor Kaur was showing that 2011 data, census data was being used. So
Yes.
all these computer people can actually help us by developing all these IoT system, or let's say smart devices, where we can actually get the updated data. Like why
Yes.
we are waiting for 2021 census, I'm not aware about it,
Yes.
because we are having death and birth surveys, death and birth counts daily available to us. So we actually can get that data and can develop some kind of dynamic GUI or dashboards kind of system from where
Yes.
everyone can actually take the data.
Yes, I think for that we need to have a capacity building workshops, because it's like there is a they don't understand us, and it's same with us as well. Now because we are working on this field, now we are realizing like how important they are for us, right? Similarly, they can also understand if they want to visualize their data, then they will have to take the help, or they require coordination from the architects and the planners, right? So it is like both ways. So I think for that we again need a awareness programs or the capacity building workshops, or and they should start, I think, from these centers as well. Not like they are only collecting the data and then they are visualizing their data through the dashboards and all. They should also start working with the training programs, and there they should collaborate with all IoT people or the computer engineers, or like it should be like the input should be taken from everyone, and they should be there in those workshops. They should understand each other's field, I think. Only then we can actually talk about the smart and sustainable cities and then the nation.
My request to Kavita ma'am and Sukhdeep sir that kindly make us visit these IEEE centers so that we actually can understand how these ICC centers are actually working.
Yeah, maybe you guys
Yes,
can
we
visit
are.
next week.
Yes, we are planning a visit on Friday.
Okay.
But this time it will not be possible to go to at least Varanasi. We will visit somewhere nearby.
Yes, yes,
At
for
least
that we'll have to plan here.
we can arrange a virtual tour for you, Manoj.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, we are having Faridabad and Karnal smart city closer to us. So
But you
our
won't get experience
Yes,
of
we are
Varanasi.
planning for Karnal. We are planning for Karnal on Friday, the last day of the FDP.
Okay, okay. I
sir,
don't know
we
how
could
much they are active in all these things, because whatever the interviews we had with the other cities, they were first they were not ready to give any data. They want to share, and then whatever the data they were sharing, they were only talking about the traffic and the city surveillance. So I hope they are including more dimensions into it.
So let us hope for that in near
Yeah,
future.
sir, we can
And
collaborate with Dr. Harsimran in future for Varanasi and Dekras Murthal collaboration together for such kind of workshops.
sure.
yes, it will be a good step in that direction.
Yes. Even I would also require your guidance in my projects, because I am looking for the computer engineers to develop softwares and help me in, because it's not only about the spatial data visualization, I'm also parallelly working on the AR VR. So
Okay.
I think I'll require certain guidance or experience of yours.
So definitely we can plan a joint venture or MOU kind of thing. We have got
Yes.
a good infrastructure of IoT in our university.
Okay.
And
We
Nice.
are also
even we are
offering
planning for a
specialization in
lab.
IoT.
Even we
Okay.
are planning for a AR VR lab.
Okay. So, like, have you started purchasing all the equipments, or it's already there?
No,
The
they are in
process has
pipeline.
started.
Okay, okay,
They
okay,
are in pipeline.
okay, okay. Because I'm also in the process only. So we have like 2, 3 equipments already in our department. So I think everybody is moving towards this virtual reality and augmented reality nowadays.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, Professor
Good evening,
Sukhdeep
ma'am.
is
I
our
have one
chairperson now,
question, if
so
I may
now
ask.
the will speed up, and we are hoping to get the
Am
things
I
very
audible?
soon.
So let us
Excuse me,
hope
ma'am.
for the best results in the next financial year. The current one
Yes,
is already over.
yes.
Yes.
So hopefully
Yes.
April onwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pooja, are you asking something?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
you
you
are
are
audible.
Good
audible.
evening, ma'am. Good evening to all. Thanks for such an informative session, ma'am. Ma'am, I don't know if it is how much relatable to today's conference, but your analytical part is making me bit inquisitive. You have chosen this OLS method for the analysis. I just want to know why not linear regression. Means what means like I know it
We
might be
had like
sounding stupid.
Yes, we had like multiple testings. Like it's not a OLS. We were switching between the modelings, like which one we should go with. So we had to compare finally with the 4 models only. Our
Hmm.
main motive was with the GWR. So
Mhm.
so that was our major target. So accordingly, we were looking for the results. So finally, we picked up these 3 models on a separate line, and then our major focus was, our major analysis was on the GWR. So accordingly, earlier we had like 16 variables. Then for the GWR, we could enter only 6 variables. So that was our main motive. So this was done with the faculty from Arizona State University, and these decisions were handled by them only. So they were contacting with all these computer people, and then finally they decided we will go with only these 4 models. So these decisions were taken after doing all the testings and all the analysis. So there was not like we should go particularly with the linear regression or only with the multiple regression.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Any other query or question? I think.
So thank you very much, Dr. Kaur, for such a suitable and informative talk. Please accept my appreciation to you for accepting our invitation to deliver this expert talk in this FDP. I truly regard you and your time you spend for us to be on this FDP in online mode. Ma'am, the way you have explained all the parameters considered while planning a smart city and collection and processing of data from actual basis is very beneficial to all the participants. You have provided countless new ideas to upcoming researchers. Thank you very much, Dr. Kaur, for this brilliant talk.
Thank you, Dr. Kavita, and thank you, Dr. Sukhdev. So I hope next time I will be there and I'll join you everyone in an offline mode. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my experience and all the research work with everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Over to
madam.
you, Sukhdeep sir.
I also really appreciate the time and effort spent by Dr. Simranjit Kaur. It was really a informative talk. I think many researchers or many of the participants might have got some ideas to work upon in the area of IoT and smart cities. And if any of you want to have any collaboration, you are again invited to share your views with the expert. We will give you the email ID and contact details of all the experts whenever you will visit the university for the physical interaction.
Yes, everyone
Thank you,
is
madam,
welcome.
and thank you all the participants for being such a patient and disciplined listeners.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.